And welcome to Mike Ferry TV. It is the week of March 19th. And last week, we spent a little over 10 minutes talking about numbers. And I got some negative feedback on that. I always do. You know, why do we have to talk about numbers? Because every business, a real estate broker, a real estate agent, a mortgage company, a title company, every business, my business, is built on numbers. So I want to go through a couple thoughts with you today, back to numbers again. Last week, we talked about the efficiencies of learning to track your numbers. We talked about the fact that many of you are numbers challenged because you have no background or experience in keeping track. Today, we're going to give you some categories to track for yourself, which is important. But I want to start today with saying to you, and this is a very important thought. If you track your numbers day in and day out for a couple of weeks, you'll discover, quote, that numbers do not lie. So for example, if you track Monday, prospected 30 minutes, talked to 3 people, no leads. Once you write it down, it's reality. Tuesday, prospected 30 minutes, talked to 7 people, 1 lead. If you write it down and you look at it, that's called reality. See, what we want to do in our real estate careers and business, we want to create this fantasy that if we show up for work and we dress reasonably nice and don't say anything real stupid, people are going to buy and sell homes from us. Well, that's a fantasy. That's not reality, okay? So what I want you to understand is you have to know that if you do track your numbers, you're telling yourself the truth about your business, and then you know why you are or are not doing the amount of business you want to do. So I wrote down this thought: don't complicate the process. Don't complicate the process. It's simple. So watch. Let's write down hours prospected. Let's write down contacts made. Now let's define a contact. Talking to a decision potential making adult. That's a contact. So obviously I get asked this question all the time. Well, Mike, if I'm calling my database, past client centers of influence, and I talk to them 4 times a year, each time I talk to them, I'm making a new contact. Yes, because your database, every time you talk to them is a contact. Outside of your database, as you talk to people, just listed, just sold, whatever your method of prospecting is, each time you talk to a decision-making adult, it's a contact. Obviously, count and track the number of presentations you made, whether it be a listing presentation or showing presentation. Obviously, the number of listings that you take. Obviously, the number of buyer-controlled sales contracts you have written. Track your number of listings sold. Track your closings. How many did you have this week, if any? Now, the trouble with this list that I just gave you, and let's be realistic about it, if you're not doing your job and you're actually going to track and you're writing 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, you're not going to like Mike Ferry, because you're going to blame me for your discouragement. You're going to blame me for your lack of understanding who you are. You're going to blame me as the guy that made you track things that you don't like. Well, it's the only way to know who you are. So I wrote down this thought. When your numbers are tracked daily, the results will offset the emotional responses that we have to our business. Real estate is a very emotional business, both on the plus and negative side, the good or the bad, the high or the low. Watch, you take a listing, you come back to the office, you're naturally very excited. I walk in the office, I got a new listing, I got a new listing. You ever notice people don't applaud for you most of the time? Because they're wondering how you did it. Where did you get it? All right, but you're excited. That's an emotional response. Or you go on a listing presentation and you don't get it, you get in the car, oh, I can't believe it. They listed with somebody else because they cut their commission. Man, that really makes me mad. That's an emotional response. If you track your numbers, you eliminate the emotion and you bring the reality into the business. Yours and my job is to make this business as reality-based as we possibly can make it. Reality-based. How do we do that? Through tracking numbers. So I wrote down, find an accountability partner within your office, if you're in our coaching program with one of our coaching clients, so you can report your numbers daily to each other. We have thousands and thousands of agents all over the country, North America. At 8 o'clock, when they start their prospecting, they talk to each other. I'm going to make X number of hours of prospecting, X contacts. 10:30, they check in with each other. How are you doing? They motivate each other, pump each other up, keep each other going. Noon, they finish their prospecting. They report their numbers. Accountability. The hardest part of real estate is accountability. Why? Because we naturally, by nature, don't want to be held accountable. Why? Because we don't want people to know what we're doing or not doing. Find 2 or 3 accountability partners and make the numbers work, okay? And then I wrote down this thought. There's 2 key ways to increase your efficiency. Everybody wants to be more efficient. I want to take more listings. I don't want to have to work. I want to make more money. Don't want to have to do more deals. Well, that doesn't make sense. So if we're going to increase our efficiency, which is what our job is, I wrote down A, increase the amount of numbers that you're involved in each day. Increase the amount of numbers, okay? How many people do you have to talk to each day to accomplish the goal you set? Let's say your goal is 20 deals for the year, and you want to have 12 to 14 from listings sold, 7 to 8 from buyer-controlled sales. Good. All right. How many listing presentations do you have to go on to get 12 listings sold? Well, you probably have to take 15. To get 15, you probably have to go on 22, 24 presentations. You'd have to go on at least 2 presentations per month. All right. Once you understand the amount of numbers that you have to be involved in, which you can figure out and we can help you, the game is much easier. So one way to really affect your efficiency in a positive manner, increase the amount of numbers you do daily. If you do 12 to 14 contacts a day, past clients, centers of influence, buy owners, expired, just listed, just sold, etc. If you do the numbers every day, you're going to win the game. But the second way to increase efficiency is to increase the quality of the contacts. I don't know why so often people say, I'm going to go knock on doors, knock on doors. Well, it's good. You're outside, you're in the sunshine, hopefully. You're dressed professionally, you have a smile on your face, you're enthusiastic, you're shaking hands, meeting people. Certainly not the most efficient thing. It's a numbers game, I know. But yet contacting a past client for referrals would be more efficient. Or contacting a for sale by owner that is going to have to sell is more efficient. So what we have to look at is the quality of the people that we talk to. Mike, I went to a social function on Tuesday and I actually talked to about 20 people. Does that count? Well, if you want to count it, count it. But if you're at a social party, a social meeting, I don't really consider that prospecting, do you? So look at last week's message, look at this week's message. Understand it's all about numbers. You put the numbers in play, then you track them and you learn from them. It's only a matter of time before you're going to become a lot more productive than you are. It's going to be a real good and interesting second and third quarter for all of us because the number of listings is not increasing as fast as the number of buyers playing in the market. So if we want to become good, we've got to list property. We're going to talk about that next week. See you next week.